Hey, Will Kenderdine here, and what we're going to cover in this video is what is SEO link building, and we're going to talk about white hat, gray hat, black hat, no hat, many hat. There's really no end to it. And then I realized in the previous video I didn't include one of the things that I promised. So in this video, at the end of it, I'll include some of the shenanigans that go on in SEO agency life. So I'll give you some insider secrets on that and what you can do as a business owner to protect yourself from the shenanigans. All right, let's dive into it. And again, SEO stands for, you got it, that's right, search engine optimization. So what is search engine optimization? Link building. And from Google's perspective, there's even though the rest of the industry, like the search engine optimization industry, refers to it in three buckets: white hat, gray hat, and black hat. There's also what's called no hat SEO, and that's more of like, so I'm in a mastermind group. It's semanticmastery.com. You're certainly welcome to go there and visit. I'm in their flagship mastermind group where there's literally thousands of us in this mastermind group that focus on various aspects of search engine optimization. Like myself, I'm more at the search engine optimization strategy and methodology, and there's other people who specialize specifically on the tactics, and there's others that specialize specifically on the operations and the analysis and the split testing and all this. So I'm part of that whole group, and by and large they refer to link building as a no hat operation, and I'll go into more details about what is no hat, but for your education, regarding white hat. White hat is the only approach that Google considers to be valid and acceptable. And the simplest way to think of white hat link building is for you as a business owner, when one of your acquaintances or another non-competing business approaches you and says, "Hey, I know you're an expert in your industry. Could I interview you so that we can make a YouTube video, and then we're also going to put up a couple blog posts about it?" And so that's a scenario where somebody in business works with you to create interviews, articles, videos, podcasts, all this type of thing. And they post it on their site. So it's just part of business. You're both working together, and all that content gets put on the internet, and from their website they link to your website, both from their YouTube channel, from their podcast, from their website, and all this type of thing. So your website receives these white hat links from another relevant website. So that's white hat. Google accepts that. It's normal business. Then there's gray hat, which implies that it could be that same structure. In other words, you're going to get a link from YouTube video, from blog posts, from other websites, yet you as a business owner or somebody in your business contacts somebody who does guest posting. So you can do this today. You can go on the internet and look up guest posting or paid guest posting. So what that means is that there are agencies or contractors out there who will, on your behalf, approach different businesses, perhaps the Huffington Post or other places where if you give them money, they'll permit you to put content on there. It might appear as what they call an advertorial, so it's an editorial thing that's an advertisement, or an infomercial, or all these things. And some of them just look like normal content. Yet the point is, the reason that's gray hat SEO in contrast to white hat is that in the gray hat method, you're paying somebody in order to be placed on their site. It could be a paid YouTube interview where you're getting a link back to your site. So you're still getting one of these links built, yet you paid for it. So that is gray territory, and Google knows some of these link farm or link farms are black hat, but Google's aware of these paid placement things. So that was gray hat, and then black hat is, as I said a minute ago, that these link farms, and they just don't work anymore. They don't work on two levels. One is Google doesn't give you the benefit, or there might appear to be a benefit, and so it's one of those where it looks good and then the benefit goes away, because Google is, I mean, it's their business, literally. They have teams of engineers and strategists who specifically identify websites that have these link farms. So they do not take down, because Google doesn't control the internet. Google controls Google, although they might eventually control the internet. But the reality here is with this black hat SEO, where you're just buying links for the sake of building links, is that they catalog it. So catalog is one word, or index, just like Google. We say index or catalog. They go to websites and they add, each of the web pages within a website is put into their database. So again, sometimes it's called cataloging, and sometimes it's called indexing, yet they keep track of all these web pages, so that as a business owner, that your greatest risk is in doing this black hat or blatant link building approach. The way that it's possible to marry together two things is to create what I'll call a shield, and the shield would be using Google's own properties as the primary links to your website. So as a business owner, you'll have a YouTube channel, and we'll say that you have a blogger.com account. Blogger.com is owned by Google, and there are many other properties owned by Google, including Google Maps and Google My Business. So as a business owner, you set up all these properties, and then so that those are your money site, or your actual business's domain is what we call the money site, or tier level. We'll call it level 0. So on level 0, that's the target, and then around that we'll call it level 1. Surrounding it is your YouTube channel, Google My Business, Google Maps, blogger.com, and on and on. So they surround it, and there are links from level 1 to your money site at the middle, and then level 2 outside of that can be, another ring of even more Google properties, and we can go into more detail about how that can happen. And then beyond level 2 is where you can use some of these black hat links, because again, it's not that Google completely ignores the black hat links. It's just that they flag them as being paid links. So there's something that I call link laundering, which means, again, if you kind of visualize it on the outer, like we'll say at level 3, you're paying for links to go inward. So level 3, you're paying for links to go to level 2, which you control. So you control the properties you have at level 2, various Google-owned properties. And then at level 1, again, that's your branded properties: YouTube, Blogger, Google Maps, Google My Business. They're all at level 1. So from level 2 down to level 1, and then your money site is at the middle. That's level 0. So you kind of picture this concentric rings all sending links, pointing links at your domain. And again, I call it link laundering, that as you build a link from the outside, it goes to that level, and then from that level it links in, and from that level it links in. So that is one way that you can leverage these paid links. Again, sometimes they're called black hat links. But that's the one way to visualize it. So if you kind of flip it over, and I'll use this as the transition to talk about agency SEO shenanigans, is that they'll promise you that they'll get you onto page 1 Google. And just to be clear about that, no SEO agency can promise you that you'll they'll get your web page right here, like in this example, because only Google can determine it. And Google does what they call algorithm updates, so it's very literally a continuously moving target. So if any SEO agency guarantees you that they're going to put you as an organic result at the top of page one, it's a lie. They may believe they can do it, and some will achieve that. Yet again, only Google decides it, and it changes. Again, certainly month to month, if not year to year. So even if they get you here today, there is no guarantee that you'll be there tomorrow. Because again, you're not the only business doing SEO. Your competitors are doing it as well. Um, so what they can guarantee you is it's much easier to control the paid results, provided you have enough budget, that your ads are relevant, that you have a relevant landing page, that you have a good reputation. So Google takes all these things into consideration. So that's one of the shenanigans that goes on in search engine optimization agencies. The other thing that I'll point out in terms of shenanigans is that if the SEO agency just says, okay, tell me what you want to rank for, and we'll get started on it today. That is a shenanigan, because the reason that's something you need to pay very close attention to is that the agencies that do that are starting in the middle of the story. There's a beginning of the story, and if they don't start at the beginning, it's just very, very unlikely that they're going to achieve the results that you want. And the reason I'm saying it very definitively that way is that there's a progression of steps that must be followed in order to have very high confidence, not just of ranking here today, but of getting there and staying there. Again, the progression is super important. I can't emphasize that enough. And it applies very strongly to global competition, yet even for it applies to everybody. But the reason I'm drawing the distinction is that for global competitors, it's all the more important because at a global level, the people who are in the game at the global level have people like me, and we're all very conscious of all the different aspects of things that Google takes into consideration as they decide who goes to the top spots. Because one of the things that I'll also mention to you as a business owner is, depending on the product or service or what your business does, it becomes increasingly improbable that visitors will go to the second page of Google. I'm one of the very rare people that sets my search results to 100 results per page. But like in this case, I kept it at 10 just so that it's kind of neat and clean for you in this video. But almost everybody keeps their search results at 10. And a lot of people are impatient. And if they don't find what they want on the first page of Google, then they'll either search again. They'll keep searching until they find something on page one, which is a little bit paradoxical because in some ways it's just easier to flip to the next page rather than searching again. But the reason I'm mentioning all of that is that when it's another aspect of why link building is important, because in order to convince Google that your web page is worthy of being on page one, is you do need to have a certain number of votes. Votes in this case are links, because a web page that has no incoming links from other domains is by Google seen as either being irrelevant or very, very new, or just not worthy of being at the top. So again, a lot of things to keep in mind. Like I mentioned before, people have dedicated their lives to figuring out all this stuff. And please post your questions, comments, concerns. Very happy to answer all of that. And I'll look forward to sharing more information with you in the next video. And if you have other questions about agency shenanigans, feel free to post that. Always happy to share some of the stories, the war stories from years past. So, yep, thank you very much for listening, and looking forward to receiving your comments.